Maple Falls, population just under 3,000, was the kind of town where nothing truly bad was supposed to happen. Neighbors waved from porches, the diner served coffee in heavy mugs chipped at the edges, and children rode bicycles down streets lined with maple trees that exploded in fiery reds and oranges every autumn. Crime in Maple Falls usually meant a teenager caught shoplifting from the pharmacy or the occasional drunk driver pulled over on Main Street. It was quiet, safe, ordinary, until the night Ellen Parker disappeared. Ellen was 32 years old, a nurse at the Maple Falls Community Clinic. She had grown up in town, gone away briefly for nursing school, and then returned to the place she always called home. Her co-workers admired her compassion. Her patients trusted her completely. She was the nurse who remembered which elderly patients didn't like needles and who would sit with them until they calmed down. The one who stayed late to cover for others. The one who dropped off meals at the homes of struggling families without being asked. To her neighbors, she seemed unshakable, almost saintly. On October 14th, Ellen clocked out of her shift a little after 6:15 p.m. She was tired but smiling, according to co-workers who watched her wave goodbye. Security cameras captured her walking briskly across the dim parking lot, unlocking her silver sedan and driving off toward home. The weather was cool, the sky already darkening with the shorter autumn days. That was the last confirmed sighting of her alive. The next morning, Ellen never arrived at work. At first, her absence was chalked up to illness or car trouble, but Ellen was never late. By noon, her brother Daniel had reported her missing, and by evening, the entire community was mobilized. Flyers went up in storefront windows and on lampposts, featuring Ellen's bright smile and brown eyes. Volunteers combed the wooded trails. Deputies knocked on doors. Then, 3 days later, her car was discovered. It was parked at a rest stop 15 miles out of town, abandoned. The driver's door was unlocked. Her purse sat untouched on the passenger seat, and the keys were still in the ignition. To investigators, it looked like she had either stepped out briefly or been forced out. There were no signs of struggle, no blood, no fingerprints other than her own. The sheriff's office initially believed this was a random act of violence, perhaps a kidnapping along the highway. But as the days dragged on without ransom calls, without witnesses, without a trace, doubts crept in. Detective Laura Benton, brought in from the county office, began to consider another possibility. What if the person responsible for Ellen's disappearance wasn't a stranger at all? At first, Benton retraced Ellen's last movements. Surveillance footage showed her stopping at the Maple Falls gas and go shortly after leaving the clinic. She bought a bottle of water, chatted easily with the cashier, and drove away. She looked calm, not distressed. No one suspicious lingered in the background. After that, her trail went cold until the abandoned car. When Benton began looking into Ellen's personal life, cracks appeared in the image of perfection. Financial records revealed that Ellen was behind on her mortgage and drowning in credit card debt. She had borrowed money quietly from friends and co-workers, though she always insisted she would pay it back soon. There were also whispers of a dependency on prescription painkillers, something hinted at in her late-night internet searches, and in forum memberships investigators uncovered on her laptop. Her personal relationships also raised questions. Ellen had recently ended a relationship with Brian Holloway, a paramedic who also worked at the clinic. Friends described the breakup as messy, though details were scarce. Brian admitted to arguing with Ellen days before she vanished, but denied any involvement in her disappearance. His alibi, working a 24-hour shift the night she disappeared, checked out. Attention turned to patients. Ellen had treated several individuals struggling with addiction, and at least one former patient had allegedly begged her for extra medication. Could one of them have retaliated when she refused? But each lead turned cold. The patients were questioned, their alibis confirmed. One by one, the easy suspects fell away. Meanwhile, the town grew restless. Candlelight vigils were held. Churches prayed. Parents clutched their children tighter. No one wanted to believe that their beloved nurse had vanished without reason. But as weeks passed, the hope of finding her alive faded. Then came the first real breakthrough. 3 weeks after Ellen vanished, a hunter stumbled upon a crumpled, mud-stained scarf in the woods near the rest stop. It matched one Ellen had been seen wearing the night she disappeared. Nearby, investigators found a shattered cell phone, partially buried in leaves and dirt. It was Ellen's. Forensic experts recovered fragments of data. In the hours before her disappearance, Ellen had exchanged a series of texts with someone saved only as C. The tone was urgent. "Meet me at the usual spot. We need to talk. This can't wait. No one can know." And then, the chilling final message at 7:12 p.m. "I'm scared of what you'll do if people find out." Investigators became obsessed with the identity of C. At first, they combed through coworkers whose names began with C, assuming it was a patient or colleague. Then one name stood out: Clara Jennings. Clara wasn't just anyone. She had been Ellen's best friend since childhood. They had grown up together, sat side by side through school, and eventually worked together at the clinic. Clara had been stealing medication from the clinic and selling it to pay off gambling debts. Ellen had threatened to expose her if she didn't stop. "She begged me not to tell," Clara sobbed during questioning. "We argued. She was angry. But when I left her, she was alive." It was a shocking revelation. The town's beloved nurse and her closest friend, entangled in betrayal and crime. Yet still, Ellen was missing, and Clara's story didn't explain where she had gone. Detectives dug deeper. Forensic teams combed Clara's car. First, it appeared clean, but luminol testing revealed faint traces of blood in the trunk. DNA confirmed it belonged to Ellen. The evidence was damning. Clara's story unraveled. Eventually, she confessed. On the night of October 14th, she and Ellen met at the rest stop. Ellen threatened to report Clara's thefts. The argument escalated, voices rising, accusations flying. In a panic, Clara grabbed the tire iron she kept in her trunk for emergencies and struck Ellen. Ellen collapsed, bleeding. Clara claimed she hadn't intended to kill her, only to silence her in that heated moment. But instead of calling for help, fear overtook her. She dragged Ellen's body into the woods and hastily buried her in a shallow grave. Then she abandoned Ellen's car to stage it as a random crime. On November 7th, investigators uncovered Ellen's remains exactly where Clara described. The town's grief turned to horror. The woman they had prayed for, searched for, wept for, killed by the very person she trusted most. The betrayal was almost too much to comprehend. Clara Jennings was arrested and charged with second-degree murder, obstruction of justice, and tampering with evidence. During the trial, she wept as she described her gambling addiction, her desperation, her fear of losing everything. She painted herself as trapped, panicked, reckless. But for Ellen's family, her brother Daniel most of all, those excuses meant nothing. He sat silently through the trial, his jaw clenched, his eyes fixed on the woman who had taken his sister from him. When given the chance to speak, he delivered a statement that silenced the courtroom. Ellen gave her life to helping people. She believed in second chances. She believed in loyalty, and the person she trusted most took advantage of that until it killed her. This wasn't just a mistake. This was a choice. Our town has lost its heart, and I've lost my sister. The jury found Clara guilty. She was sentenced to 25 years in prison. For Maple Falls, the case left scars that never fully healed. The clinic hung a plaque in Ellen's memory, honoring her years of service. Every October, the community gathers for a vigil, candles flickering in the cool autumn air, remembering the nurse who gave so much and the tragedy that revealed how even in a small, quiet town, darkness can thrive in the shadows of trust. Maple Falls is no longer the place that leaves its doors unlocked. Parents are more protective. Neighbors glance at each other with cautious eyes. The memory of Ellen's disappearance serves as a grim reminder. Sometimes the most dangerous secrets aren't kept by strangers lurking in the dark, but by the people closest to us, smiling, sitting beside us, calling themselves our friends. Ellen Parker's story lingers, not only as a crime solved, but as a testament to the fragility of trust, the devastation of betrayal, and the reality that evil doesn't always come from the outside. It often grows quietly within the very fabric of our lives.